Row for Show Productions presents Brothers Being Brothers, a lifestyle podcast.
It's a problem.
Welcome to the Brothers Being Brothers podcast. I'm your host, Rochelle Hamilton Jr. I got my guys, K-Rob and Mac Ronay, rolling with me today. That name still gets me, man. I love that name. Why don't y'all go ahead and say something to the people, fellas?
Yo, this is Drew, aka Mac Ronay, like Ro said. But yeah, my name is Andrew. I'm on here and very excited to share my life with you guys. So anything that you guys can take from it, any positive, that's a win for me.
Yes, sir.
What up? What up? This is King Robinson Jr., aka K-Rob, and just excited as usual to be on the podcast doing another episode, trying to share as much positive information as possible. So let's go.
All right, guys, let's get it. We don't have a lot of time today, so we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. The first topic we want to talk about today is, as far as society goes, especially with our generation, fellas, it seems like the more we've become connected, the less connected we've become as people. In other words, it seems like the smarter we're getting with technology, it seems like it's dumbing down the art of forming a connection, of forming a relationship. And there was an Instagram video that was sent to me. This probably been about a week or so ago, and it described this. This was about a 4-minute video, and it described in some great detail about our generation and how we've lost the art of forming a connection. And some of the lines in the video, it says, we want a second pair of shoes in the artsy pictures we take of our feet. We want the Facebook relationship that everyone can like and comment on. We want the post that is quote unquote relationship goals. We spend more time on dating apps like Tinder and OkCupid, Plenty of Fish, Bumble, etc. And, nowadays, as far as technology goes, we have so many options when it comes to connecting with people. We have text messages, we have direct messages or DMs. It goes down in the DMs, as the song says. We have social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We have so many different ways that we can connect, quote unquote, with the world and with our peers and different people. In a lot of cases, perfect strangers that we don't even know. But part of the problem with that is, as we've become more accustomed to technology, it seems like we've lost the art of forming actual connections and building actual relationships with actual people. And a big problem, and we've seen here lately, especially over the course of the last 4 years, kind of the downside of social media. With President Donald Trump, or former President Donald Trump, thank God, with how he took social media and turned it, really kind of weaponized it. We've seen the downside that social media can present. We've also seen the good side that social media can present. But I'm more interested to hear y'all's perspective as far as forming connections and maintaining a connection, because I'm a single man, but y'all are two married men. You've been with your partners for a number of years. Y'all are both fathers. Y'all are both doing amazing things as Black men, as Black husbands, as Black fathers. So I'm more interested to hear y'all's input as far as forming a connection and maintaining a connection and the work that is required when it comes to marriage. Because, in this video talked about that. A lot of us, we want the idea of a relationship, but we don't want the work of a relationship. We want the facade of a relationship, or we want to be able to tell our friends, hey, I got this girl, I got this guy. And we want people to like and comment on our pictures. And we want to be able to say on Facebook, quote, in a relationship, or we want to be able to say we're relationship goals, and we want to celebrate the anniversaries, but we don't want to celebrate the other 364 days that goes into this relationship. We don't want to celebrate the 364 days of work that goes into that one day that is the anniversary. So I'm gonna stop talking. I want to get y'all's input and kind of, break it down.
You want to jump in, King?
Go ahead,
All
Drew.
right.
Yep.
So it's funny. I was watching this TV show this yesterday actually. I think it was 2.5 Men, and the guy was on a date with this girl, younger girl, and she's on her phone through the whole date on Instagram, taking selfies of the food, taking selfies of her date, saying, "Oh, this is my date." Basically, living her date on that Instagram post when the guy was right there next to her. You see, so it was funny to see that she was in her own little world on this Instagram, portraying this world that she wanted to be in,
Mhm.
when yet the actual world was right there next to her.
Right.
You
Hmm.
know what I mean? And that's weird. You know what I mean? I don't see how someone can build a connection like that if they're not in the moment. You know what I mean? If they're always chasing likes and and chasing posts and not living in the moment, I don't see how it's possible to build a connection. You know, now as far as me and my wife been together for 16. Well, we've been married for 16 years. We've been together for 20 years,
Okay.
and I don't do social media. I'm just not, I'm not on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
The most important thing to me, I'm not worried about what people think or about my relationship or what, people want to know about my relationship. The only thing I'm worried about is what me and my wife think about our relationship. So I work on it from within. You know what I mean? And without that outside noise or that outside, buzz and irritation out there, it's easier for you to work on the inside. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, what do you think?
Um, I have a love-hate relationship with with social media because for anybody who's watching the podcast, it's probably the most talking anybody in the world has probably ever seen me if they've watched even one of the videos. And so for me, I I'm real discreet, like cool person. If you're friends with me or if you know me like you guys, like y'all know me even before we did this podcast, you would know that I'm like shy by nature or like that you know, or I'm an outgoing person. I like to do things, but I'm real discreet about it. And not like a secret as far as hiding something, but discreet. I've just always been like that. I've been like that all my life. And so for me, I have always had a strong hesitancy to like post stuff on, social media. And sometimes I would do it, to kind of tickle the fancy of posting. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Because and being in a relationship, my spouse, she's like really big into social media and like she has aspirations of being an influencer and all of these other cool things, and that's fine, because I mean, I don't think much of it because I'm like, well, if that's what you want to do, then so be it. Just make sure you don't get caught up into the hype or try to bring me into the hype. And if you do, make sure it's like a fine line because if it don't look like I'm not with you, it's not that I'm not with you. It's just not my thing. And so for me, I've always had the same kind of approach as Drew. It's like kind of work within. Like if you see, me and my spouse, then that's because you've seen it. And it's not because I'm trying to necessarily portray it as some amazing thing on social media. Like I'm not sure if that's even cool because my parents have been married. I'll be 36 this year.
Hmm.
And so that means my parents have been married 37 years in July.
Oh man,
And I
congratulations.
haven't,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
wow.
I haven't seen my mom and dad like take selfies to put on social media
Exactly.
to tell
Yeah.
people that we're doing good. Because at the
Right.
end of the day, really, you're going to only always see the result because marriages are mostly everything that happens is in a household. So only thing
Yeah.
you're going to already always see is usually the results or the actions from any talking or anything that's ever happened in the house. And so for me, it's like seeing that and my parents being a strong foundation in my life, like I don't know how to even like make it a big deal about social media because I'm like, because some people, I was told one time that somebody was like, um, I posted something about my wife and she's my girlfriend at the time on her birthday, and I think she said that somebody made reference to the way I worded my caption, and I'm
Mm.
like, are you serious? Like, is it that big
Exactly.
of a deal? Like,
Yeah.
what's what I'm saying? Like, why is that a big deal about how I word the caption? Do it even matter? Like, this could all be a lie. So what does the caption matter? So for me, I think, man, I understand it, man. I like hate to even think about it. I'm even bad about it even in my career. It's not even just relationship. Like, I thank God for all the things I've done, but it hasn't been because I've been a social media guru. And I'm not saying that I'm throwing salt or dirt on anybody who's trying to do it. And I probably should be better about it, but like that's an area that I could definitely always work on. But it's also in an area because like I feel like there's always like a self-centeredness that kind of goes into it. And I'm not saying I'm not anybody can be it without social media, but it's like, yeah, it's hard for me to get into it the way that like other people do, man. I don't go hard on social media like that. But in real life, if you're a friend, a homie, a brother, like we can have hour-long
Yeah,
conversations. We can
just
definitely
know.
hang out.
Right.
Well,
Right.
you know what? My thing about social media is that everyone is so negative nowadays that everyone wants to be the first person to say something clever that's putting someone else down. You know what I mean? Everyone's
Right.
got to have that, that snarky, sarcastic, you know, going viral, phrase. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And
Hmm.
and all that it always is always because someone is trying to put someone down. And I,
Right.
I hate that, you know what I mean? And there's good stuff on the internet. I know that there's good stuff on social media. Social media is good because it casts a net on so many people to
Right.
get a message out. But on the flip side of that coin, the same amount of people that's casting that net, you can cast out negative, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Negativity as well. And it's so much negativity, man. And I may be getting a little off track with relationship between, but with the internet, but my I guess my I guess I'm just trying to point out why it's so hard on the internet or on social media because it's so much negativity out there.
Right.
You know what I mean? You see what I'm trying to say?
I
Mhm.
got you because it is hard to form. I mean, it's not impossible, of course, but it is hard to form a true, authentic connection via the internet or social media. For the simple fact that social media gives so many people, so many different people, I should say, a voice. And unfortunately, with that, which there's a good part of that, but the unfortunate part of that, it also gives a lot of nosy people, a lot of ignorant people, a lot of people who mean no intentions to you or your relationship. It also gives them a voice and a way in. And I understand where both of y'all are coming from as far as like the whole social media standpoint, because a lot of times, and we've all seen that with couples that the minute they do something, they run to put it on social media. But the minute something happens between this couple, people start putting two and two together. You start inviting, other people into your business. And, my parents have been together. Well, see, I'm 36. My parents been together, I think 38, 39 years. So I've
Yo.
had a great, example as to,
Congrats.
the things to expect when it comes to a marriage, even though I'm not married. But the and that's also an interesting dynamic in the fact that there's so many other older couples who are still together and they've stood the test of time, but they didn't have the
The social
connections
media.
and things.
Yeah.
They didn't have the disturbances that social media and technology can bring along with that. So I also think there's a dynamic with that as well. But
You
but
you
yeah,
I'm
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, but
No,
I just
you
want to
good,
throw
you
this
good.
in there. You know what I so we're just looking at the building a connection between two people
Right.
on social media. Is that what we're focusing on right now?
Yeah.
Well, at least for this particular part of the
Okay,
conversation, yeah.
cool. So then I will equate it like this. Social media is like that hating ass homegirl that everybody got when it comes down to trying. So how can you build a connection when you always got that homegirl over here, but
Mhm.
not just one. Now you got millions of them hating over here. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Oh,
what I equate social media when it comes down to a relationship.
Yeah.
yeah. I'll piggyback on that, but it's from the other extent. I feel like, at first, social media only had 15 seconds. Instagram only did 15 seconds videos. Then they extended to a minute. Now they have IGTV where you can put extended videos. Now, for people who do it for comedy, and people who make money off of it,
It's great.
who
Yeah.
knows? But like
Yeah.
you said, back to the relationship part, I think it's hard to fit the reality of a 24-hour day in a 1 minute video. And I
Yes.
think people get a facade of that 1 minute video. And then I think like Instagram is not totality of reality. And so I think people get caught up into like trying to make their lives or something mirror a picture or a 1 minute video. And I'm like, man, you don't even really know what goes into this. Like, and like just keep working hard because some of them people really may not have it together either,
Right.
and it's easy to want what somebody have or what it looks like they have, but I mean, faking is a serious thing. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
that
do.
And
what's that what was that the Ray J challenge? What challenge? No, the Bow Wow challenge. I remember the Bow Wow
I
challenge,
forgot
right?
about that. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the
They
Bow
have
Wow
so
challenge.
they have so many, man. You
Right.
really
Yeah.
can't keep it up. You can't keep up with.
I think the new challenge now is the busted challenge, but
Yeah,
that's
Oh wow.
if
yeah.
you're a married guy, you probably don't need to let
Well,
your
you know
girlfriend.
what? I said like this: as a married man, let your wife record it and send it to you in your text
There
message
you
like it
go.
was
There
work.
you go. I like the
Hey,
way you
hey,
think.
listen, I sent you that busted challenge. It ain't for IG, it's for you. And I just
Right. It's for your eyes only.
listen.
Now
Mom,
now
I'm gonna
one
spit. Can I get to the house early? Yeah,
yeah, got a little cough and got a little frog in my throat.
yeah.
Now one other aspect we talked about the social media aspect. There's another aspect that really kind of went in there, and I think I guess the better way to put this particular aspect is the instant gratification aspect, and the fact that you have so many different dating apps and things like that now, like the Tinder and Bumble, OkCupid. But you know what, with as easy as it is to access these multiple avenues to go about finding a potential mate or a partner, part of me wonders, is this contributing to how hard it's become to actually form this connection with a person, for the simple fact that when it comes to the actual work of a relationship, well, part of it, forming a connection with a person, is you're getting to know a person, of course, but you're also getting to know the good about this person. You're getting to know their flaws. You're getting to know the things that set them off. You're getting to know their pet peeves, and you're getting to know how they may fit or how y'all vibe together. And I think sometimes with that, because there's so many different options, there's so many different avenues, that if this feels like it's taken too long for this connection to form, or if we just not vibing right, from the jump, I think a lot of times, we as people, especially a lot of single people, we just say, man, you know what? I don't have to deal with this. There's other fish out there. Let me go ahead and just, move on to the next one. Or we feel like it may be something else that's better out there. And another aspect, I also kind of think that just as a single man and going down my own journey, I think a lot. Well, I know for a fact that a lot of it is people are scared of being hurt, which is understandable. Don't get me wrong. None of us like getting our heart broke. None of us like getting our feelings hurt. But it's like Will Smith said, the best things in life are on the other side of fear. And when it comes down to forming this relationship, to forming this connection, you got to be willing to take the risk. And because there is a risk involved, there's a risk you're going to get your heart broken. There's a risk that this person may fall out of love with you one day. There's a risk that this absolutely just won't work. And I think, to boil it down, a lot of us are scared to give another person the power to hurt us. Because really, when you choose to get into a relationship, when you choose to form this connection, I mean, you're giving your heart to this person. And on the other side of that, you're giving this person permission to hurt you, so to speak. Now, you trust them that they won't do it, but we also have to realize that they do have that power. Um, so what's y'all's input on that specific angle of it?
Well, going back to what you said earlier, as far as someone gives up so easily because there's it's like a conveyor line, so there's another one right after it.
Right.
But nothing beats a face-to-face connection.
Right.
Nothing beats that. You know what I mean? Even going back to what we were talking about earlier, if both of y'all are always on Instagram on social media and y'all sitting there and laying there in bed and and y'all both on your phones, how y'all gonna build that connection when you put the phone down and talk to each other? Y'all right
Right.
there. You know what I mean? But but I guess your question was, what do we feel about fear of getting hurt, or what was the question? I'm sorry.
I guess, yeah, I guess what's your input about that specific angle of it is the fact that because I know for a fact there's so many single people out here who want to get into a relationship, but they don't want to give a person the power to hurt them. They form these emotional walls where it's not, they don't want to let this person in because of X, Y, and Z. They're still holding on to past
Then
trauma,
they're not ready
basically.
to date.
There you go. Okay.
Then they're
Yeah,
just not
that,
ready. That
yeah,
person is just not ready.
yeah,
Right.
If you can't put yourself out there emotionally, no matter what you've been through, no matter how bad you've been hurt, because you're not giving this next person the chance that they deserve.
Hmm.
You're carrying that with you. You're not giving this person the chance they deserve. I mean, yeah, you could get hurt or you could not get hurt.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's just like anything else. You pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and you keep going.
Right.
I mean, you're not gonna die. It ain't gonna kill you.
Right.
yeah. I agree. It's the same with getting a job. It's like getting a job, and it's like you don't have the power to fire to keep yourself hired. So you're actually giving, you have to give up that liberty of saying when you get fired. You know what I'm saying? Let's just be honest. And I think it's the same with a relationship. You just kind of got to make yourself ready for those things. And as an adult, you get to a point to where you live without the fear of that happening. But if you know it happened, you have to definitely have enough strength in in whatever I mean, just strength in general to like muster through problems because we're going to always have problems.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Life doesn't consist of extreme fairy tales. It's actually about how we can be resilient through our trials. Actually, that's what builds character. It builds endurance. It builds all of these like traits that can help us be better going forward. And I think another thing is, especially having a teenager,
Hmm.
everything is so quickly accessible. So I think we've just turned into a situation where, like, if it's not quick and fast, like it's undesirable to us. And so, what seems like, because like, we can be on social media and see a person and be like, oh man, they got married. When did that happen? And they could have been dating a dude for 3 years, but you see that one picture, and because it's abrupt to you, you think that the relationship has been abrupt, and it could have actually been a long one. And then sometimes you could see a person acting like they've been with Bay for 4 years and then get with a guy and he could be a new guy. And then you thinking, man, this guy's been toughing it out. So I think there's a lot of misconceptions.
So a false sense, huh?
Yeah, a false
Yeah.
sense of love, false sense of hope, a false sense of a
Mm.
lot of things that
Yeah.
can be extremely misleading through
Hmm.
any social media. And then I feel like the with like Tinder and stuff like that, I don't even really think those are dating apps.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
my
Exactly.
opinion, in my
Those.
opinion,
No,
that's
you're
not
right.
quite.
You're right.
I mean,
That's a bad. Those are bad examples because those
yeah,
are
no,
general.
no, it's cool, but people call them that, and I
Right.
think
Right.
it's definitely more of like a out of
Hookup
town
sites.
fellows.
Casual
Yeah.
encounters.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. And so you know, maybe eHarmony may actually be
Christian singles.
yeah, stuff like
Yo,
that.
you still don't know what you're getting.
Yeah, you
Exactly.
don't
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
what you're getting,
That's true.
but
That's true.
I to be play devil's advocate, maybe that one is presented as more of a actual looking for a wholesome person. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of those casualties and quick preferences that we have to find things like that, it's like, oh, I can go on the computer and look up all the things I love, and it's like,
Yeah.
all right, cool. Oh, this is a great person. And then once you get with them, you're like, so what about all those other things? And I'm like, yeah, situations will bring things out of people that you did not know. Like
Exactly.
there's a
Right.
6-year old problem that there's a problem that happened when a person was 6 years old that's going to ignite when they're 39 because of a particular thing. When they're 15, that's going, and so it's
Right.
like it's really hard to necessarily pinpoint a perfect person based off an app and some qualifications. I mean, we look at the show like The Bachelor and stuff like that, and it's like, man, she looks great, breath smells great, and she has a college degree, and her feet are nice, and you know, um,
Great
all of
body
these,
and everything. Yeah.
yeah, and all of that, and then you get one, you be like, man, what a total, whatever
Right.
you got to say
Now I
about,
see why she was single.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
you know,
insert bad word there, and it's like those things. I wish that could really be more of a driving point to why it's like okay to like be careful or take your time or ask
Right.
questions, to know something, so that when you actually get into it and like Drew said, where you when you're actually in a place ready for that, like there'll be more better outcomes rather than a lot of split ups and divorces and stuff. And I
see,
know
I
that's
def
inevitable.
definitely want to piggyback on what you just said as far as being ready for it. When you're saying about those apps, I was just thinking to myself that you had to be honest with yourself, what you're looking for.
Mm.
Are you ready to get into a relationship, or are you just out there looking to play the fields?
Yeah,
You got to be honest with this.
situationship.
Yeah, there you go. You got to be honest with yourself. You just can't, and you can't even lie to you because a lot of people, oh no, I'm going on here trying to find a girlfriend. No one that's wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So back to what Rose said in I think episode number 2. He asked guy, send me somebody, and then he had asked himself, well, what am I doing? What do I need to do? You got to self search and figure out what stage you are. Are you really ready for a real relationship, or are you just
Hmm.
out running around? So if you out running around, yeah, find you a Tinder or something. You know what I mean? But if you if you sitting there and you say you want a relationship, but yet you say you're afraid to get hurt, you're not ready. You're just
Yeah.
not ready.
Hmm.
Man, and you know what? That actually you actually walked me to one of my points of this deal because I know for a single person like myself, and I've talked to other single people, and especially for single people, we have to ask ourselves, what am I doing now to become a person worth marrying in the future? If marriage is what you want. Now, if marriage is not what you want, then hey, do you, just know what it is that you want. Just like you said, Drew, be honest with yourself because at the end of the day, the truth is going to come out whether we like it or not. What I mean by that, the truth is going to come out in our actions, one way or
Hmm.
the other.
Yep.
And what's done in the dark is going to always come to the light, as my mom says. Now, I know for me, and this is kind of piggybacking off of episode 2, but I know for me, I have to constantly do this. But you have to ask yourself the question: am I working to be a better man or woman for myself? First of all, because you have to improve yourself first of all, and thus, with that, am I becoming a man or a woman worthy of being someone's husband or wife? And that's for single people. That's really the question we have to ask ourselves when it comes down to this. And you have to ask yourself, are you ready in every aspect? Drew, and the main one, like Drew said, is am I ready to get out there? Am I really ready to take this leap? Because it's just like if you're investing in the stock market, it's a risk, high risk, high reward. If you invest this money and the stock does great, good, you got a return plus. But if you invest this money and the stock does terrible, then you just risk, losing whatever money you put in plus some. So, the best things in life come with risk. And we all have to, you have to do that assessment. It's a constant process. Um, I guess that leads me to the next project. That leads me to the next subject,
Topic.
fellas.
Yeah.
And I know we wanted to talk about the disconnect between men and women, and I guess this is something that could go back to maybe even biblical times. And it seems like men and women are constantly at each other's throats. And I know for me, I know with a lot of the social media pages that I follow, and it seems like we're bashing social media today, but we're not. We're just talking about the different aspects of it. But I know for me, a lot of the pages that I follow on social media, they do a lot of man bashing. And I'm always wondering, and I know a lot of it's jokes, it's all funny, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like, man, you know, what are men doing that's like, hurting people to this degree. And I got to be careful how I word that, because I don't want it to seem like I'm, coming off some kind of way, because I am sensitive to the things that are going on. Because I will say, a lot of the disconnect, especially now in this generation between men and women, is a lot of this coming from, us as men. We're built to be leaders, and a lot of times as men, we're not leading in the home like we should. And I came across a stat that said, 72% of Black children today are born to single parent homes. And that got me to wondering, is the disconnect, or is a large part of the disconnect, when it comes to men and women, and we're Black men, so I'll keep it specific to, kind of Black men and Black women, is a lot of that coming because, a lot of times as men, are we not holding up our end of the bargain, or are we misreading some of the things that women are trying to tell us when it comes to what they want in relationships? I guess my main question is, what are we doing wrong, in regards to this question? And even if we don't have the answers, I really just want y'all's input on this specific part, because I'm single, so clearly I ain't doing something right. So y'all tell me.
Don't say that about
what's going. No, I'm joking around. But I want y'all's input on this, as two men who are married and two men who are doing things the right way. From your viewpoint, where is the disconnect coming from?
For me, I'd say it's definitely communication. Communication. You got two people. One person is thinking one thing and another person is thinking the other. But yet that other person wants that other person to think what they're thinking. But how are they going to know if you're not communicating?
Right.
Something as simple is, I don't know, not leaving a dish out. Not leaving a dirty dish out. If one person, hey, please don't leave that dish out. I got to get up in the morning and it's in the way. If you communicate to the other person, oh, okay, well, I can understand that. Let me move this dish out the way. Other than someone not telling that other person, hey, this dish is in my way. Don't leave dirty dishes out. The other person's not gonna know, so it's not even in their head. So now that other person is expecting that other person to clean up the dishes when it's not even on the other person's radar. So the other person's sitting here in la la land, not even thinking about it, while this other person is just burning up inside. You know what I'm saying? When it's something little as that, it's definitely communication. It's definitely communication, and it's definitely 50-50 as far as I take that back. So I was listening to Steve Harvey one time, and he said this perfectly. Steve Harvey said, you think it's 50-50, but it's not. He said it's
100.
Check this out. I'm gonna blow your mind. Steve Harvey said it's 85-15. 85 to the women, 15 to you. But check it out. He said if you happy with your 15 and you love your 15, she gonna share the 85 with you.
Okay.
Hey, so you see what I'm saying?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you go the extra mile, you do what you got to do. You show that woman you love her. She gonna break it down and share her percentage with you. You know what I mean? So,
right.
But to wrap it up for me, I think communication is the biggest thing. That's the biggest disconnect. Communication. You know how much everyone can accomplish in relationships if people just check in with each other. Me and my wife, we do check-ins every couple of weeks. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? What are you thinking? What do you think about this? How are you feeling about this? You know what I mean? Just checking in with each other. You know what I mean? Communication is a big key, and I think that's where a big percentage of the disconnect is coming from.
Okay. About you, King?
I'm gonna come from a totally different angle, and this may seem slightly controversial, but
Get them.
But no. But it's coming from a good place. Well, first and foremost, we have leaders in our life, whether it's our job. Well, first and foremost, God, as a leader, God being a leader of our life. If we are a believer, like we don't like all the things He do. We don't like some of the ways that he has set for us. We don't necessarily like some of the devoted things that we may have to do. Like last episode, talking about turning the other cheek, and there are a lot
Yeah.
of things. So, but the overall,
Picture.
yes, the overall picture or the overall goal
Mhm.
is usually for me to win in life as a person. You know,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? He say we have life and have it more abundantly, but it's usually with an understanding of following that leader. And I mean, we have a president, we have military leaders, we have job leaders. I mean, LeBron's a leader on his team. Everybody don't necessarily, Kyrie didn't necessarily like it, but Kyrie won a title. You see what I'm saying? And so I will say, sometimes I think men have to lead knowing that everything may not be liked, but if there's enough respect on both ends, that hopefully there's an understanding that it's like an ending goal that's trying to be met, but leading with an understanding of your spouse being your lead, being a leader as well. You know what I'm saying? It's not, I know when people, they, definitely can misconstrue the Bible with, saying a wife being a helpmate and following, but I just think it's I mean, it's just what God said, and hey, it's not my rule, and I'm not asking my wife to be my child. I'm asking her to actually walk beside me. It's just sometimes somebody got to make a decision, and I'm okay with being the bad guy for making it. If, but I tell you what, if I make a decision and it go bad, I'm one going to accept it, but two, I promise you, I got enough wherewithal in me, and I'll rewrite that wrong even in a bad way. If I be like, hey man, let's invest $1,000 in Amazon and we lose that thousand, I'd be like, you know what? Next time or I'll get that money back and I'll let that be something for you to enjoy because I messed up for it. Or whatever the case may be. I just think that if you're going to designate somebody a leader, you gotta let them lead even in the midst of like what may look like it's always uh, always set out to make you be a follower when actually when in actuality, like you're a leader too. And I think it's like you said, communication. There's a right way to talk to people, man. That's another thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? We coming up talking to each other like, we somebody's child or something like that. That's on both ends. Like, I think that's a bad problem we have. And we speak to each other like each other are infidels or something. And
Yeah,
it's
you
like,
gotta have that respect. Once you lose
yeah,
that
man, it's the
respect, it's over
respect
with.
across the line. So,
Mhm.
I just think that, but even as a woman being a co-leader with you, y'all co-leading together, like respecting what she say and, learning who's good at what. I think that's another thing. And, like if I'm good at the finances, but you're good at the cooking, I'm not going to tell you how to cook. But be cool enough to let me lead with the finances because I'm gonna let you lead a little stronger on that thing, or I'm gonna let you lead a little stronger on, you're good with this. And like being a man, like I'm gonna take care of the cars. Like I'm gonna
Okay,
make
but
sure
what if she was better with financing and you was better with cooking?
I would then
Would you be able to take a step back?
Chef
There
K
you go.
Rob it
There
is,
you go.
and then I'm gonna let her handle the money because like I know good friends who wives are like the handlers of the like just the financial obligations, not necessarily telling you what the money, but being like, babe, I have these plans because they have a better financial mind, and it's cool, and there's no problem. So I don't think roles are gender based. I just think it's a man leading is really just letting the unction and the voice of God help him lead his family. Because as a man, there are certain things that you'll just do out of natural instinct, and so that's why I would just say, let a leader be a leader, and try to help him be better at leading because a CFO and a CEO can't be fighting each other because they're equally important because the CEO don't even own the company, even though we like to act like a CEO is an owner, not an owner. So it's like he still got to answer to somebody too. You know what I'm saying? And so like a CEO and CFO got to work hand in hand. So let's not make them greater than the other one. no matter what the pay is, let's make them equally because like we need each other to bring our brains together to make this situation work.
Right. And you know, and it's I think another aspect of it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but sometimes I wonder. I know there's a lot of guys who grew up in less than ideal households. They didn't have maybe the perfect example of a husband with their father, or they didn't have the perfect example of a father being in the home. So, uh, do I guess what the question that I have, in y'all's opinion, um, does it make it harder for a man to, grow up and be in this husband and this father, or this ideal husband and father, if he didn't have that kind of example to to look up to, I guess, growing up? And I guess, well, you know what, that's not even a good question, because I mean I have a
No,
great example in my father.
that
But
is a good question. That is a good question.
okay,
Because I grew up without a father. I
okay,
grew up a single mother. My father passed away when I was 4.
wow,
You know what I mean?
man,
So now since I have kids, I have no idea, what I'm saying, what I'm doing or what I'm doing wrong. If I could be doing it, I know I can be doing a lot of stuff better. Better, you know what I mean? I be seeing families with 8 kids and they running around, and I'm like, I'll be right here. Y'all go run. You know what I mean? But I didn't have an idea of what a father was supposed to be. You know what I mean? I had no clue. So it was more of a just learn as you go basis. You know what I mean? And I think it has handicapped me. With me being a father, there is so much room for growth for me to
right,
being a father that I do need to work on. I do need to prove on, and I think that is because I didn't have a real example of what a father should be. You know what I mean? So
right.
no, that's an excellent question.
Yeah.
Well, let me jump in right there. And as far as what you just said, because I know you said you got you feel like you have things to improve on, but dude, look, I've seen you in your kids, and look, from my viewpoint, you're doing an amazing job.
I
So
appreciate that,
I
brother.
just want to give you your props on that,
I
because
appreciate that, man.
spent a lot of time around you and your kids and your wife, and you're doing a great job. So I gotta give kudos from a brother to a brother, because
I
you're doing
appreciate it,
amazing.
man. Thank
And
you.
I've never met King's wife, but I just from knowing the kind of man that King is, you're doing a great job yourself, my friend.
Thanks,
So
bro. I'll say this. But man, let's be honest. There are people who grew up with full-fledged households that become criminals, that become
yes, this
bad
is true.
fathers. So I
This
think
is
at
true.
the end of the day, it's there. And also, Drew, there's a lot of things that everybody got to work on, bro. I mean, we've all done dumb things because sometimes we start to develop our own minds, and
Right.
it goes south, north, east, or west of things that we learned. And then, me growing up in the 80s versus me being a parent in 2021, it's a little different. So, the things may, balance a little different as far as fatherhood. And also, I would say, but kudos to you, Drew, for having a man up mentality.
Yes.
And I think, but
Appreciate
that
that,
makes
man.
your wife want to follow you, though. You see what I'm saying? And that's kind of to my point that I was saying earlier. Is like you're still presenting yourself in a leader like perspective, and it's visible, so it's easy to want to follow.
Hmm.
Bro, if I started a platform and acted like I was the next, Martin Luther King, people will follow me if I'm acting like a leader.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
he'll be like, "Yo, it's something about him," and it's something about it was something about Drew, man. He's doing it. You said you don't have all the answers, and see, you acknowledge that you don't have all the answers, and you also acknowledge that you're trying to do it. So I think that's where like the room to get better and get better happens because you're actually saying it. So it becomes a in motion thing. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
That's true leadership right there,
I
man.
appreciate that, fellas. Thank you,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Thank you.
Yes,
Bottom of my
sir.
heart, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so from another aspect, fellas, I know, and Drew, I'm gonna let you. I know you felt passionate about this particular part of it. And this is a big part of preparing for a relationship, or even if you're not talking about a relationship, this is a big part of just getting your life together. But if you are looking to get married, if you are looking to form this bond, this connection with a person, a big part of that preparation process is financial responsibility. And I know, Drew, you talked about the angle of investing versus buying rims, and spending your money on bull job and things like that. But one of the best things that we can do in preparing ourselves for marriage and relationships is fix that credit. And talking to myself, because brother, my credit is man, look, my credit is like this. It's like, there's good credit, there's great credit, good credit, bad credit,
No,
poor
fair.
credit,
Fair,
you know,
then bad.
fair,
Yeah, fair
then
in there.
bad, the gates of hell, and then my credit. You know what
Oh,
Oh
I'm
wow.
come on, man. Whatever.
saying? But but Drew, I want to start with you, Drew. I know, because this is a topic you felt passionate about. So I want your input on this, Drew. When it comes to financial responsibility, investing versus spending your money on rims, bull job, and other non-necessities.
Okay. Well, first I want to address your credit situation. You know what I mean? And but because my credit was there a few years back, my
Yeah.
credit was where yours was. But I highly suggest you download Credit Karma. It's
Hmm.
free. I highly suggest you download it. But all credit is knowledge. If you know what you're doing, you won't ever have bad credit, bro. Like my credit was, I had a whole bunch of stuff on there, but all I had to do was open a secured credit card. Took $250. Open a secured credit card. You know what I mean? Paid that off. Kept it in good standings. More credit cards started coming in. You know what I mean? While the other cards are coming in, other things are dropping off. The negative is dropping off, and
Right.
you never want to pay a outstanding loan. You know what I mean? Because if you pay it, then it resets all over.
Mm.
I mean, if you make a payment on a delinquent account that's in collections, that it takes 7 years for it to drop off. But if you pay it, you're acknowledging that you still own that debt, and then the clock restarts all over, so it stays on there. I mean,
Mm.
it's so much. We can do this on another episode, but it is so much, man.
Right.
As far as credit, it's all about knowledge. I promise you. I promise you. But as far as investing, man, just looking back at my life, man, had I known what I know now, what I then, it's so much stuff as a kid that I would have invested in, to where I wouldn't even have to be working, or my wife would have to be working. We can be sitting at home right now, not doing nothing at all, just enjoying our lives. You know what I mean? But
Mm.
I was out there buying cars and, buying stupid stuff that depreciates.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Everything, the
Right.
cars depreciate. So I mean, there's not even a point of that. But if you invest in your future, like right now, I invest in a few different things, but one of the ones is a retirement. I throw in about $100 a month in it, and they take that and they invest that income, to whatever investors, they look at, whatever investors is on the up at the time. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And so if I keep that, looking at my path, if I keep that going, by the time we're 60, we don't have to work anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, it just it's just that I didn't have the knowledge as a kid. You know what I mean? Who
Right.
does? You know what I mean? As a kid, who has that knowledge, and who has the foresight to really think, hey, if I put this, even if I just put this aside, not even invest in, if even if I just take $20 from my paycheck every week and just put it to the side and not even touch it, how much is that going to stack up when I do need it down the road? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Right.
No one told you that, So you're just okay buying just a bunch of frivolous stuff, wasting your money when you could be saving that nest egg and building up. But no one explained that to you, when you're young. Like
Right.
now because you've seen some things, and I hope this gets out to someone that's young, or someone that's still in their teens and 20s, and it puts a seed in their mind. You know what I mean?
Mm.
There's man, it was a time to where, had I known, about what I'm doing now, I'd have a whole store right now. I'd have a whole storefront, probably a chain of stores right now. You know what I mean? But I got into it so late because I didn't know. It's just crazy, and basically it all comes down to knowledge, man. And if you don't know, you don't grow.
Right.
Um, yeah. So for me, um, the I like to tell people there's a difference between a savings account and like a retirement account. A savings
Yeah,
account, the root word is savings, is save. It's supposed to like save you when you need it, but it shouldn't be a retirement account because a retirement account shouldn't be something you pull from.
exactly.
For me being like a musician, so I don't have a pension to get, the 30-year pension. So my dad, when I was younger, even though he didn't have it, I'm so glad he like drilled this stuff in me. He made me get life insurance. And I said made, and I was an adult. He made me do it.
Right.
And kudos to my dad, like still being real demanding even as an adult. I was living on my own, like straight out of graduating, but he still made me do it. And to this day, I'm so grateful because if I was to pass, like at least I got some money to leave to pay for my funeral and my son. And then like he also made me set up a rapid growth retirement mutual fund. And so I put money into it every month. And I've been doing it since I was 18.
Wow.
And if I do just $50, because it has like a 10%, like it's like a
Interest.
10% interest or like growth on it. If I put $50 in it for like 30 years, I think it'd be like almost 100, close to 100 grand. And that
Hmm.
was from, and
Dang.
it was like from 18 to like 60 or something, like a little more than 30 years, excuse me. But
Right.
like if I'm doing more than that and see the difference where other people win, is there like what if I would have started it with 10 grand and
Right.
put dollars in there? Like the interest is bigger now. So it wouldn't even take that long for it to get to 100 grand. It'd do it way quicker. And I think, what I'm saying, we see 10 grand and we like, ooh, going to the mall rather than
Exactly.
being like having 10 grand and be like, cool. Well, you know what? Let's work to get another 10 grand. And once we get that, we're gonna put this one and start my own retirement fund so it don't be based on a job. So it don't be based on this and like getting into stocks, learning that stuff culturally, that's just not like a thing for
Exactly.
us black people. And I'm definitely that person. I've had a lot of money before and I've been broke before. And younger, when I was broke, I was like, yo, I'll make sure the rest of my life I make decisions that will at least put me in a position that anytime I need to get something done, like I have money for. Like I've been talking to my son. We had a conversation the other day for about an hour. And I told him, if you get a car, it's cool. But just have a clear understanding that like you're gonna need money for gas and to get in the car is easy. I
Insurance.
was like, it's the insurance
Hmm.
and like, what
Hmm.
if something happened with the car? You need that money for maintenance. So I said you have to learn how to have an amount of money that you're putting aside every time you get money. Whenever even if you're rich, bro, if my checks were 20 grand every week, I would still have an amount of money that I have to put to the side to take care of like things that are outside of the regular everyday living.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't need to have a
Like that
hundred.
rainy day fund.
Yeah, and you know what? And it's not even like it's just only below rich people. Like rich people need a rainy day fund too, because based on where their life is, like certain things happen. Like with COVID, I'm sure some few rich people right now looking like, you know what? What can I do with this $250,000 watch sitting on my wrist right now? And I'm not saying that I have a problem with people buying it because, for a person who has $50 million, in actual money and not just assets.
Liquid. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they had actual $50 million and they house is paid for and they got a couple cars and they doing all right. You know what? I warrant you your $250,000 watch because that's really chump change to your 50 million. But if you got a $250,000 watch and you only got a meal in the bank and you trying to figure out what to do, Then like now we're looking at things, and so I just think it's like Drew said, man, just having knowledge, man, and culturally, I think that starts as, and that goes back to the father thing. As a black man,
Yeah.
as a father, like those are the kind of leadership things that we need to teach, and I think that'll be a turn on for a woman to
Yeah.
want to follow. And that's kind of where I was coming from. You know what I'm saying? You know,
Gotcha.
yeah.
And you know, it is interesting that you say the cultural thing, because that's, you know, one of the things I was thinking about. We have to stop worrying about what friends and society will think if we decide to be smarter with our money. So instead of going and buying, you know, this Tahoe or Cadillac, whatever it is, that might cost you, you know, a $700 a month car payment. And I'm not even exaggerating with that.
Yeah.
I've seen cars that cost that much. I know y'all have as well. So instead of going and getting this vehicle that'll cost you, you know, $750 a month, just in a car payment alone, not counting insurance, maintenance, and everything else. Instead of doing it, don't be afraid to downsize to a vehicle that's gonna be a, you know, $250 or $300 a month car payment. You know, don't be afraid to live inside your means. And, you know, especially for us as Black people, I think that is one thing that we don't stress enough in our community is, you know, we like to floss, we like to get the rims, we like to get the gold chains, the watches, and everything else. I mean, it looks good, but at the end of the day, what value does it have? Or what value does it add, you know, to our portfolio as well as to our lives? I mean, yeah, we get the likes and the comments, you know, and if you're a guy, you may get, you know, a girl or two, and you know, that's you know, all fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, when we're talking about long-term financial health, what good is that doing to us? And you know, if COVID did nothing else, COVID should have taught us to always expect the unexpected, because none of us expected, you know, this virus to hit the way it's hit. And I don't think, I can almost guarantee there's nobody on this planet that expected it to hit the world's economy or affect the global economy the way that it did. So, you know, we always have to be planning for the future. And I don't want to go too long on that, because I know we got to get ready to kind of wrap it up. So with that, you know, whatever your life goals are, make sure your financial health is on track. And if it's not on track, make sure you're taking those steps to get it on track, because the more you know, the more you grow. Like my man, Mac Ronay said.
Definitely get out there. If you don't know, definitely get out there and get with someone who does know, who has the information. You know what I mean? We're sitting there telling you just go do it. And you're like, well, how do I do it? Get with someone who knows, you know, and maybe we'll go into it more on a different show and whatnot. But definitely get with someone who knows, because it's knowledge that's going to save you down the road.
But you know what? You know what, Drew? I'll take it even further than that. Man, the internet is so free.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And
Google
you know
is
what?
free.
Instead of using Instagram to do that, like there are people out here giving away free knowledge. And think about, if anybody have a Starbucks habit, you could pay for a monthly subscription to a guy who's giving away Forex trading or day trading. And sometimes it can cost more than that, but if you consider your habit, a habit that you have, it's like, man, you know, Netflix and Starbucks is 40, 50, 60, 70. We can keep crawling because the Starbucks.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Netflix is $20 a month. So every time you be like, well, I ain't got $20 a month to do that. I'm like,
yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do.
You do.
What are you willing to sacrifice?
It's about your priorities, yeah, man, and sacrificing certain things to get where you are, because like it don't always have to be like that. But if you have to make a small sacrifice for 6 months to a year to better your life eternally or forever, excuse me, it's like, why would you not do that? You know,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
how you gonna come to me talking about you don't got $20, but you got cigarettes and beer?
Right.
Like for real?
Or hitting up the fast food joints, you know, multiple times a week.
Yeah.
And going back to what you were saying, Drew, if you don't know where to start, Google is free. YouTube is a great resource. Like YouTube, I love YouTube, because you can find how to do almost any and everything on YouTube. Okay, fellas, for the last subject, and King, I'm gonna let you drive on this one, because I know this was you're more in tune with the NBA than I am. But I know you talked about the NBA, and we wanted to get to the NBA and give the NBA props for its minority coaching hires and its practices. And the NBA does a the NBA does a great job as far as, you know, putting minorities in places to succeed and putting minorities in higher positions, and not just putting these people in these positions because they're minorities, putting people who are minorities who are highly qualified for these positions in positions to succeed. So King, I want you to expand on the NBA and how they're going about opening more doors and opportunities for minorities in higher positions.
Yeah. Well, last week we were talking about the NFL and the disparity with like a Rooney Rule, and I even heard that they was thinking about possibly. Well, shout out to Adam Silver. I think he's a great commissioner. He definitely is a great forward thinker. And right now, I think it's like 7 black coaches, and that's still a small number for the 30 teams. But I think what makes the NBA a little better is sometimes how much more control the players have. So I think it's less frowned upon with the coaching and stuff like that, is because it's like you look at because it's only 15 players to a team, and they have so much more control. Their contracts are guaranteed. I remember seeing some a while back where Kevin Garnett was still getting paid out from a contract from the Celtics, and it may have been like $2 or $3 million a year because they extended out so they can create more cap space and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like, just think about it. Dude's been retired and he like still getting a check, and then he'll probably be getting like a pension and stuff like that. So I think there's more, because of course, as well as the NBA being 75% black athletes, I think the control that they're able to utilize as a player kind of has more effect, than necessarily having to always have a black minority coach or GM or, what I'm saying, anything in the front office. Because you look at a person like LeBron and Chris Paul and those guys, man, they're literally like basketball activists, and it's not just for equality on the court, but it's equality in life and all the way around. So it's a lot of kudos, because I think they have more of a social equality awareness. And the owners, like you got cats like Mark Cuban and stuff like that, man, they're so much more personable and so much more feel a little more human, what I'm saying, like they actually care about it. And like we never know if it's for a facade or not, but for me, I'm just having to gravitate to the image that the NBA does a good job of presenting, even as far as like the international stuff like that. NBA in Asia is like it's a thing, and so it's just pretty cool, seeing Jordan be an owner in Charlotte and some of these other things. There's no black owner, and then Usher was it Usher? Didn't Usher have a part in the stake of the Cavaliers at one point?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We don't even there's nowhere near that. And I know times have probably changed and he may not be a part of it now. LeBron saying he want to be an owner one day, and I can actually see that happening.
Oh yeah. LeBron's gonna be an owner one day.
Like LeBron and some other people are trying to get together to get the part owner of the Atlanta Dream out of there, Kelly Loeffler or whatever. Well, I haven't said her last name. What I'm saying? There's more control or power of a minority voice, as even though it's only like 7 coaches, and and there's a few coaches that could be coaching outside of that. But at the end of the day, I just think they do a better job of what feels like more equality. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, and I know for me, the thing I really like about the NBA is they let their players have a much larger voice when it comes to social issues, and it's not something that they just started just because a black man or a black woman, unarmed black man or black woman got killed, and it made the headlines. This is something that the NBA has been doing for a number of years now. Now, Now, when things like these incidents happen, of course, those voices become more magnified, as they should. But just in general, I love the way the NBA lets guys like LeBron and Kawhi and Chris Paul. It lets them have these I mean, they come out with the warm up shirts that have all the different
Right.
social messages, and they're not doing like the NFL and trying to squash it, And that's why I, along with a lot of other people, was giving the side eye to the NFL, after the George Floyd thing, because it's like, wow, it took all of this. It took this for y'all to wake up to see what Colin Kaepernick was trying to say back in 2016, and y'all locked this man out of the league. And we've watched men who, beat their wives, and we've watched in the past. We watched I can't remember the guy's name, Dante Stallworth. He got drunk and hit a guy and killed him, and he was still playing in the league even afterwards. We've seen all these number of incidents where the NFL allowed guys back in, but then this guy expressed his First Amendment rights and you kicked him out. So, for me, I love seeing the NBA take a stand and basically say, you know what, we're standing with our players. And of course, it may be some financial reasons behind it. We get it at the end of the day, but they're still giving these minority men, and it's starting, women are starting to creep into the NBA as well, which is great. They're giving these minorities a much larger voice to get this social message out. And the thing I like about it is society's listening. Society's paying attention. The message is getting across. So, kudos to the NBA. And King, you talked about Mark Cuban. Like, I love Mark Cuban because Mark Cuban is he's one of the rare owners who is not afraid to go against the grain. He's not afraid to speak his mind. He's not afraid because I follow him on Twitter. And I love the fact that he's straight up said that, look, he would gladly pay more in taxes and pay more money out if it meant that a underrepresented section of society was to benefit from it. What he did for Delonte West the end of 2020, that was amazing. And I don't even think Mark Cuban said anything to anybody. I think that story I think Delonte West or somebody that knew Delonte West, it kind of just leaked out. But yeah, Mark Cuban wasn't patting himself on the back. It was other people that just, and he's still, I read the other day that the rehab facility that Mark Cuban set him up with, Delonte West has a job there now. He's getting his life back on track. And now he's starting to help other people. So, the Broncos their ownership situation is kind of in flux right now. I would love Mark Cuban to buy the Broncos. Since I can't buy the Broncos, I don't have the money. I would love for Mark Cuban to buy the Broncos.
But yeah, you can tell Mark Cuban just has a general love for people. You can tell his sincerity. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And yeah, we definitely need more people like that. And going back to looking at the differences between NBA and NFL, yeah, watching Jerry Jones tell those Cowboys to stand up, don't kneel.
Yeah.
That really put a thorn in my side, because now I'm torn. Like even now, like I'm a big Cowboy fan, but I know it's some racist that goes deep in the Cowboys. I know that, you know what I mean? And just to go back to what you guys are talking about, like the distinction between the NBA and the NFL, I wish, the NFL would follow suit with the NBA, you know what I mean? Because it is but two, I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. I apologize.
Good.
But it's the fans. Like if everyone would stop supporting, they wouldn't happen. But everyone's not gonna stop supporting. We all know that already. You know what I mean? But if it was so important, if everyone stopped supporting to make the change, it would happen.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I remember, last thing I'll say is I remember when what was his name? Sterling was the owner of the Clippers, and
Daniel Sterling.
Yeah,
and that tape got leaked out about him saying racial slurs, and they voted him out. You know what I'm saying? I'm not quite sure if that would have necessarily went like that with the NFL. And maybe it would have. I don't want to speak for anybody,
but we don't know. That's the problem.
But to see those things happen the way they've happened, like, it's just gives you a greater sense of hope, and like the WNBA having a voice, and they're owned by the NBA, and that it kind of just mirrors the NBA as far as them having a voice with the social understanding. Because when that lady, the owner, like was running against Warnock, the whole NBA started like wearing Warner. I mean, like her own team.
Her own team, yeah.
Owning a team that's totally like against her. So, you know, it just I think it's dope for the NBA to do such things as they do and let the players actually have a voice.
And I think that's awesome, because now that the players don't have to battle with that internal torment of, you know, do I say something and stand up, or do I shut up and get a paycheck?
Right.
You know what I mean? But
Absolutely.
But that's all I'm gonna say on that. You know.
Yeah.
You good, man? You good? Well, we gotta see where we at on time. Oh yeah, we gotta go.
Yep.
Yeah, we gotta wrap it up, guys, because I know King got some business he gotta handle. So we're gonna go ahead and get out of here, fellas. Y'all have any parting shots for the people?
Get your knowledge. The more you know, the more you grow.
Ding.
Exactly what Drew said. I echo it 100%. Well, y'all, this has been it for episode 4 of the Brothers Being Brothers podcast. Thank you to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for giving us gifts, talents, and resources to do this podcast. And remember, like we always say, do your best and let God handle the rest. Be blessed.